Mics are on.
Okay, I'd like to open the Select Board meeting of March 18th, 2025 at 6:30. This is an in-person meeting at 138 Main Street, Wenham, Mass., first floor. As a convenience to the public, it's available electronically via the Zoom link below or via HWCam for viewing and participation. In the event of a technology failure, this meeting will continue in person. Please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast live via Zoom. It's also recorded for playback video on demand viewing at hw.org. Also, please note, other than call to order, all times are estimated. Items may be taken out of order. So we're looking for public input. Purpose for public comment on matters falling within the jurisdiction of the Select Board and not on the current agenda. Note, public comment on specific agenda items with a public comment period will be deferred until those items are reached. Rules, 2 minutes per person. A person may speak once, 10 minutes in total. All participants wishing to address the Select Board during public comments may do so in person or via Zoom by virtually raising their hand. Speakers must identify themselves by name and street address. The Select Board may not deliberate or vote on matters discussed during public comment, but are not on the agenda. Okay.
Hey. Hello, my name is Sanford Kelleher. I live at 32 Pine Hill Road, which is part of the Wenham Pines 55 and older community. Thank you, first of all, for offering this forum to bring concerns, and I'm here to share one of mine and hopefully get some information from you to help address it. As a 55 and older community, the residents at Wenham Pines, and similarly those at the Boulders and the Maples, may have no children of school age living there, simply not permitted. It therefore follows that we do not utilize any school resources. So the portion of our taxes that go to fund the schools, and I understand this to be the largest share of everyone's real estate taxes, are 100% income, all in the plus column, in black ink, a big credit. With no one attending the schools, we had no expenses, no red ink, no debits to the schools. This must be a big boon for a town. This must be why towns are happy to greenlight 55 and older communities when the opportunity presents itself. In fact, many people assume 55 and older communities get tax breaks for this reason. This is absolutely not the case here in Wenham. Other than not sending kids to school, why do residents in these communities face other differences from their neighbors in town? Specifically, we do not receive any trash removal services. We pay a private company for that. We do not receive street snow plowing. We pay a private company for that. 2 of the 3 communities in town do not receive recycling services. We pay private companies for that. And I'm assuming that road upkeep as a private way will be yet another expense that we'll have to pay on our own going forward. As a result, to me, it seems there are 2 classes of tax-paying citizens in Wenham. Those who pay their taxes and get full services, and those who pay full taxes and get very limited services. I'm here to question, why would Wenham deny certain citizens sanitation, snow removal, recycling, and road maintenance? It seems hard to find an explanation other than because they can. It saves them a bit of money. But it also seems to me we're singling out groups of citizens, in this case by age. It just seems wrong, unfair, unjust. So now that you understand my concern, my question is, who, if not you, makes these arrangements, and more importantly, would be involved in any conversations to make adjustments to these arrangements and to help address what I think is a big injustice. And just very interesting, the timing right now is we're all being asked to fund a very expensive school project. And it brings us to the forefront of a lot of our minds. So that's what I'm here to present.
Thank you. How long have you lived there?
I've been there, I'm coming up on 2 years this summer. And in fact, it's interesting you asked that. Some of us, figure when it's being built, of course, there's no trash, because how could you come into a development area when, there's all the trash of construction? Or, why would there be sanitation? Why would there be sanitation or snow when it's just a dirt plot, or, construction's half done. Some of us were actually under the belief that, in time, when it transfers back to the owners, that's when these services would pick up. Interestingly, I was here just a few meetings ago to kind of get the lay of the land of what happens here. And, I heard other neighbors in Wenham from another new development that's not 55 and over, they were here seeking their snow removal, which led me to believe they're probably getting the other services. And, I followed along. I understand theirs was a case of their developer doing the right thing, with the affordable housing. Our developer, we have the affordable housing. It's a wonderful part of our community. But again, it just kind of highlights, we have certain communities that get things and certain ones that don't. And, I understand business, I understand dollars. Why wouldn't you want to make, get the most boom for your buck? But at the same time, it seems like, just because you can, is that the reason you do something? And again, I think it sums it up. We're creating like a two-class society. And the fact that for some of it, it's drawn on age lines, seems odd to me. The more I live here and talk to people and neighbors, they're surprised. They don't get it themselves. I'm on the board. I happen to be at the board where I live. I could have half the residents or all the residents here, but this is a peaceful seeking information. It doesn't make sense. And I'm not suggesting you could solve it. I'm not suggesting you created the situation, but I'm literally here asking the question, which governing body in Wenham enters these agreements, and which governing body, would hear us and actually want to try to make some of this right. There are other nuances in the woods, the school proposal, the way I'm looking at it, we pay on assessed value. Being new property, our assessed values, I guess it's the way it works. Our assessed values are very close to selling prices, because we all were purchased recently. But if you start doing your research, there may be towns and homes that are full of children going to school that their assessed values may not be as close to what they're really worth. So in effect, in addition to all the imbalances I may have mentioned already, when it comes time to foot this bill, it's going to be even more so on the community I'm describing, because it's going to be based on assessed value. So anyway, I'm cognizant of my time. I appreciate that we have this forum. I'd really love to know, where do we, it's 3 communities. I'm just one person right now getting it started, but I don't know town government well enough. Which governing body would I speak to even begin to get some answers, whatever that answer would be?
Ben?
I appreciate your comments. I think a place to start, and maybe you've already done some of this, or others at Wenham Pines have, would be with the planning board subdivision decision,
Okay.
because that will lay out the reason that Wenham Pines was even allowed to be built. And that subdivision decision by some prior planning board would probably have information in it about the fact that the development was contemplated as a private road, and not a public road that would receive the full range of services that you touched upon. So it's the planning board who approves subdivisions.
Okay.
And that decision, was several years ago, and
Of course.
there was a preceding set of decisions before that where the select board at that time had to decide whether or not to invoke a right of first refusal to have the town purchase that land, which had been, tax exempt for years because it was agricultural or horticultural
Right.
land, and it was a golf course, but it met those requirements. And so there's history in those documents that would maybe answer some of your questions.
Okay, that makes great sense. Thank you.
Peter? And I think Stephen backed me up on the second point. So assessments in Wenham are constantly updated, that, it's not new properties to get taxed at new
Okay.
prices. So everything's on equal basis, and that's driven by statewide rules. So assessments there's not an argument there.
Okay, no, that's good to know. That's just an add-on. It's not lost to me that there's a history and the decision was made on prior boards, but even when someone, as we have these conversations, we now, as 24 homeowners, are bringing in a lot of tax dollars compared to what you said. It had been tax exempt. You said as agricultural. Someone said as recreational. It just seems to add to the fact, like, we bring in so much money in taxes. That's such a benefit to this town. It just seems like such a slap in the face that we don't get the services that, it's like, is it, and what's at that? And again, I appreciate, I know where to go. Does anyone else have, that you said that they were the ones who maybe made the decision at the time. If this is something folks want to consider more, are there other bodies in town? Is it still the planning board that would have the conversation about if they'd welcome any changes to the situation? Or,
Planning board's the entity that has authority over amending or revising
Okay.
prior subdivision decisions.
okay, so planning board it is. Do they hold hours like you do, or?
They do, yeah, they meet on a
Okay.
regular schedule. I think it's 2 Thursdays a month, if I'm not mistaken. And so they're, they have a page on the website and
Okay.
explain. You would want to make your initial approach to Margaret Hoffman, who's the town planner and who's at the end of the table here, as
Oh.
far as how to get on
Okay,
a
great.
planning board agenda.
It's not like this open to just walk in and,
No,
okay,
the planning board does meet once a month.
Okay.
Typically on the first Thursday, the second Thursday. In April, that's not the case, but if you want to contact me, I'll be
Sure.
in the office tomorrow.
Okay.
You can give me a call and I can share with you the decision. It was a special permit
Okay.
decision for that project.
Oh, I'm sorry, it wasn't
And
a
it-
subdivision,
Yeah,
okay.
but it's the flexible development provision
Ah.
of the bylaw.
okay, I could read up on it too.
Yeah, we can go over that.
Okay, that's great. I had a feeling it wouldn't live here, but I wanted to meet all of you and let you know that many of your residents, I think we're 3% of the population between the 3 developments I mentioned. We're over 100 units. We're a lot of people who live in Wenham and, seem to be in this really weird situation where we don't feel like we're being treated the same as other citizens, even if it was based on a process and at a time was approved. Yes?
I was just going to say, I appreciate what you're saying, and I can understand why you're thinking that. I do believe, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is not something that's unique to Wenham. I believe that this is very common
Yep.
throughout the state. So I think it's not that it's, a slap in the face from Wenham. It's not that we, are doing this intentionally to you or something. This is sort of how these developments get done, and all of these decisions are made and negotiated and so forth. And there's lots of elements that are involved when these things get decided. So I
No,
would just
I-
add that.
And I appreciate all the input. I appreciate you saying so. I haven't done all the research, but I've done a lot of thinking on this. And I know it's not illegal. I know it is common. But I'm sure you could all think of situations without my providing them where just because something is common doesn't mean it's right. And you said it right there. A lot of things had to be negotiated. At the end, a lot of it has to do with the bottom line. So, I'm sure it's very attractive to take a piece of land and make a special permit, a piece of land that didn't bring in tax dollars, and then brings in a boat. I have the dollar figure somewhere. I don't want to misquote it. It was last year's. Again, it was negotiated, and it might be legal, but it certainly doesn't make it right. And then the question would be, is it right for Wenham to have so many citizens feel like they're footing the bill for everyone else? Because I don't know, because the land was, anyway, I think you know my
Just
point.
to add one more comment.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to.
Go ahead, Karen.
I was just going to say, I'm not going to ask you to do it on camera.
Yeah.
If you can leave your contact information with Michelle on your way out, we'll be able to follow up.
No, it'd be great, because obviously there's something I really want to follow up on.
I just don't want you to leave your information directly online.
Awesome. And so, are we?
Yeah, so just so you know,
Yeah,
when Maples was done by Harbor Light,
yeah.
Harbor Light emphasized, and oh, by the way, we pay taxes, as a good thing.
Okay. The developer
Yeah,
of Maples. I'm not saying it's a bit, I don't understand the comment. I'm happy to pay my taxes.
but they pay at the full rate.
And I'm not questioning that we pay at the full rate. I'm talking about paying, and you're talking about the person who built the development, because then
Yeah.
it goes back to the homeowners. So that happened in the past. I'm a little confused. Right now, I'm speaking on behalf of when these developments are built, they transfer to the homeowners. So I wouldn't think that developers in the picture anymore. They're just homeowners.
No, but there was some pushback on doing the Maples.
Okay,
And so, in defending building the Maples,
okay,
the developer said, which was Harbor Light, And oh, by the way, these people pay taxes, full taxes.
Yeah, okay. I'm not denying we all pay full taxes, and we're not
Well,
questioning.
it sounds like you're trying to pay less taxes.
No. Oh, so I'm glad I have a chance to clarify. We pay full ride of our taxes. What we're questioning is how there are citizens in Wenham who pay full taxes and get full services, and then there are residents in Wenham who pay the same full taxes, yet we don't send kids to school, which is fine, because we know that. We're older and we don't have kids, and we all probably know people, anyway, but then we don't get snow removal, we don't get trash, we don't get road upkeep, we
well-
don't get recycling. So I know.
Back to the,
Of course. I was just responding to your comment about the Maples, the developer. I'm glad I had a chance to clarify. We're tax-paying citizens. We're questioning the difference in services, so not the taxes. I made reference, some people assume, oh, you live in a 55 and older, you don't use the schools, you must get a tax break. That was anecdotal, but not what I'm here for tonight.
okay.
All right. Very good. I appreciate all the time and the feedback, so thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody online?
Anyone online would like to speak, please raise your hand. Nope, there is no one online. Yep.
All right, shall we go to town administrators update, town announcements, please?
Yep, thank you. A few things to share this evening. First is we hired Mary Rubens, who is going to be our new COA administrative assistant. She starts on March 24th. As you know, we posted that role several months ago, and we're not sure what, but it seemed like during the holidays there wasn't much action at all. But we're definitely, she seems like a great candidate, and we're happy to find her. In addition to that, the assistant assessor kind of followed the same path. We had no applications at all for a number of months, and we're starting to review and kind of reaching out and shaking the bushes. But what was it, one week, and by the end of the week we had 7 applications, not due to our efforts, but it was, so that was good. We don't know if it's just time of year or whatever, but they went through, they whittled it down to 5, however 2 withdrew from my understanding, so they'll be interviewing 3 qualified candidates, so that is a good thing. I know Terry's excited to get somebody on board because she's been solo in there for some time. So I was notified this morning that the House passed a bill on Monday that would allow us to continue to hold remote meetings and hybrid meetings. It is not going to be a law. It's another extension. They're anticipating the extension to run through June of 27. The Senate's expected to vote on Thursday. The Senate has spoken that they would like to see a law that is put in place to make it permanent. However, they continue to talk about placing required hybrid meetings on communities, which could be cumbersome and expensive because, as we've seen, sometimes hybrid and technology brings challenges. We have some, whether it's HWCAM or our own technology issues that that can't be sorted out. It would, if we were required to hold a hybrid meeting, we would need to essentially cancel the meeting and then reschedule it, which could be difficult. So you're kind of at the mercy of the technology. I don't know if you got my email, but ClearGov, Jeff and Jen have put a lot of effort into getting that going. So they've built out the back end, and they launched the Transparency Center. We delayed the release of the Wenham Wire until tomorrow. My letter to the residents is essentially about time meeting and where to find information on the various articles. So I wanted to delay until tomorrow so that the actual final warrant was up on the website for them to access, so they didn't access a day early and still have the copy that will be mailed out in the mail. And that is all I have for this evening.
On a lighter note, if you haven't seen the signs, a local doing well, Jake Ryan Flynn is doing a one-man show at North Shore Music Festival. He's a Wenham, or he was a Wenham resident, I'm not sure if he still is, but his dad Mike Flynn, Super Bowl winner for the Ravens, and was the Pingree football coach, and now he's the Hamilton Wenham football coach. And I remember, Gary, you probably may remember this, opening day for Little League, probably 8 years ago, he sang the national anthem and like just knocked everybody's socks off. So, other than that, I've got nothing else to say.
No, I'm good.
It's nothing for me, thanks.
Just want to emphasize that the library is having their annual book sale starting on Saturday at 9 a.m.
I have two items. The first is a reminder to everyone that with the approaching annual town meeting and the town elections, that signs by the bylaw are not allowed on public property. So any signs you put up should be on your own private property. The second item, attended a pretty good attended open house at the Cutler School last Saturday. Superintendent Tracy conducted tours and had a question and answer session afterwards. So I think a lot of people got a good firsthand look at the state of affairs at the Cutler School. I would contrast that with the, I think most people in the community received a flyer in the mail from an anonymous group, promoting a renovation. But I would point out that on this card that it's old information, that it has old, outdated cost estimates, that it overstates reimbursement rates, that to renovate, the school building committee had gone through 24 site options, had gone through 14 design options, and has come up with a consolidated school as to be the best of those. And financially, I think probably one of the good references is to view the Wenham FinCom's 12 February meeting, which is still online, to review those status. But I would just caution people that, something that's anonymous and out of date and inaccurate, we shouldn't put too much weight on it. That's all I got.
And the superintendent actually put out messaging
Yes.
basically with the true facts
Right.
as opposed to what's in the flyer. So that can be found on the school's website.
All right, move to the consent agenda. Routine items for approval in a single motion, allowing them to be passed without discussion unless held. Minutes, open session 2/18/2025. Do we have a motion?
And move to approve the select board minutes of February 18th, 2025.
Second?
Ready to vote? Peter says yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Abstain because I was absent.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right, new business, items for individual considerations. These items will allow for public comment, 10 minutes. Purpose, this comment period will allow for public comment on individual and will be held before or after the board's discussion of the agenda item at the discretion of the chair. Rules, 2 minutes per person. A person may speak only once, 10 minutes total per item, unless noted on the agenda. Okay, so we thought we'd change up the order here, especially given who we have sitting in the room. Move to H and I, please. H, discuss and potential vote to refer proposed zoning bylaw and zoning map amendments to the planning board for a public hearing pursuant to general law, section 40A 5. Discussion or?
Hold on.
Go ahead.
So perhaps Mark can confirm this, but essentially this is just a procedural move to take the proposed bylaw and officially return it to the planning board so that they can conduct their public hearing on this. So Margaret says yes?
I do say yes.
Yes.
Do you want me to give
No.
them?
No.
Yes, that's correct. The planning board did vote on it the other night to initiate the process.
But just, just to make it clearer for people, because the agenda item is not super clear, right? So which things, it's the floodplain overlay district plus the ADUs, like, No,
sorry,
which
this is
pieces?
the
H.
MBTA 3A.
oh, sorry,
Zoning
sorry.
amendment for the- This is for the June,
I'm on the wrong one.
So that's
Okay.
G,
yeah,
right? So we're doing G.
it's for the June town meeting.
Any further discussion?
H.
We're on
No,
H.
that's why I'm confused.
Oh, I'm sorry, are you talking about G?
That's what I'm not
Well,
sure.
G-
what-
No, we're talking about H.
Right, H. So,
My
I'm
agenda says G
confused,
is 3A, so I don't know if the number, if it's a numbering issue on the
Yeah.
agenda, but.
yes, when, letter.
Discussion.
We should be
it's-
discussing G, H, and I. I think that's what,
Yeah.
so G, whoop, whoop. Okay, take that. Before I cover Gary and iced tea.
Can we
There we
just,
go, we're good.
Gary even saved you water.
Yeah, yeah.
How'd you do
Pretty,
that?
yes.
I know.
All right, we're good.
Thank you.
you got room? You got space? So we're currently discussing H, then we're going to discuss I, and then we can move back to G.
I'm messy on this side,
Uh-huh.
too.
Is it locked
Take
in?
that again.
All right, so,
Okay, so,
Mario, what's
Are we all
highlighted
clear?
here?
well, not yet, because I
No.
think Deirdre's question was whether, in discussing H, are we talking about the floodplain bylaw and the ADUs?
No.
Okay, then why,
In
okay.
talking about
Okay,
H,
I
you're
think we're
talking
good.
That's
about
better.
the
Yep.
June special town meeting.
Is just the
It says-
3A.
The MBTA
Okay.
3A.
But you don't wanna see my sneakers.
ADU and the floodplain,
Yeah.
they're on the April town meeting, that warrant's already
That's
been
done,
closed
okay.
and done, yeah.
Okay,
So
so when,
that's all
so when H says discussion and potential vote to refer the proposed zoning bylaw and zoning map, the proposed zoning bylaw we're discussing is the 3A.
Is the MBTA 3A,
Okay.
yes. And this is the stage where the planning board refers it to you to initiate the process, and then you would refer it back to the planning board, who would hold a public hearing, and then they would recommend back to you whether they recommend that or not.
Okay.
So I think
Yes.
that we should, because I attended, or I watched the next day, the planning board meeting from last Thursday night. I know that the planning board voted unanimously to add a sunset provision to our proposed rezoning article that is compliant, the article, is the rezoning article being compliant with 3A. So that's a change, and I think I'd like to hear from either Chair Weeks or Vice Chair Pasquarello on that change, because that's the first time that I think the select board will be presented with that.
Good evening, Dan Pasquarello, I'm the Vice Chair of the Planning Board. Do you need my address as well?
No.
Wenham, Porter Street. So we took what we had proposed in September, left that the same, and we added one article at the end, or one section, which is CC. And it's a sunset provision, and the reason we did that was due to the uncertain status that we still have with challenges to 3A. So you've got an introductory paragraph there which lays out what has happened following the SJC decision, which ruled that the guidelines were ineffective, of no legal effect, because the EOHLC did not follow the State Administrative Procedure Act 30A. So they're in the process of, we think, doing that. The SJC required them to issue impact statements, one of which we're still waiting for. I think you have an item on your agenda that you're going to send correspondence about. There's another legal challenge that's been issued to both the emergency declaration and the regulation, whether the new regulations are actually abiding by the APA. So basically what the sunset provision says is if these regulations are deemed to be invalid in some way, or if they change the metrics for Wenham, that what we are adopting will sunset without further action, which means it would become void. So that we wouldn't have to go back to town meeting and then pass something by 2/3 majority to repeal it. That's basically the issue. So that's what's behind the sunset provision. I should also note that at the end, there is a sentence that says this sunset provision is not severable, which means we have a severability provision in this act, which is BB, right above that, which usually means if a court says, this is fine except for, section 7 here is no good, the rest of the bylaw would stay in effect. What that language says is if you knock out the sunset provision, you're basically knocking out the whole bylaw amendment.
Sounds smart.
So that's it. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Are we ready for the motion then?
Ben's,
Then,
I'm trying to figure out what Ben's thinking.
No, I'm just trying to find the actual language. Okay, here we go. Could we just have maybe 1 minute? I heard it
Yep.
read out, but I just haven't had a chance to look at it yet. So BB is called, okay, I see, BB and then CC is the sunset.
Yeah, BB is the severability.
while we read, can I ask a question? Do we have a proposed date for the public hearing?
16.
We're hoping for
April.
April 16th.
Yep.
Public hearing.
And I should add that this provision was edited, or changes were made during our planning board hearing last week. And then it was adopted.
I sent those, you want Friday. Have those edits.
Okay. And the memo and everything? The memo and everything? Okay. Yeah, that's all in the packet.
You good?
I'm good.
All right, everyone else good? So, do we have a motion?
Move to refer the proposed zoning bylaw and zoning map amendments to the planning board for a public hearing pursuant to General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right,
Thank
so we
you.
move to I. Review, amend, finalize, and potentially vote to sign a letter to Edward M. Augustus Jr., Massachusetts Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities, formally requesting a status update on the economic impact report related to blah, 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 3A, expected to be completed by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
Joe, is there someone online that has any questions?
There's no hand up.
Guys happy with the letter?
I am. I think,
Gary,
Good here.
Aaron, Deirdre?
Yeah, were you going to say something?
oh, just that, I mean, it's spelled out in the letter, but really the objective of the letter is to learn whether or not EOHLC is going to issue the public and private sector fiscal impact analysis that the Supreme Judicial Court in the Milton case said they needed to, that the agency needed to. And so this will be good information to know, in part because of the town-wide fiscal impact analysis that we're trying to undertake before the special town meeting. I don't know whether, I had asked Robin Stein at a planning board meeting 2 meetings ago or so, to whether she knew anything about, or KP Law knew anything about that public and private sector fiscal impact analysis, and whether it had come out or whether it, been raised with the state and anything that they knew. I didn't get anything more on that, although I did read in one of the unfunded mandate lawsuits that a different town filed, there was some reference to this issue, which the state auditor referenced in her letter, and we point that out in our letter to Secretary Augustus. But the thing that was new to me in reading that lawsuit was there seemed to be some suggestion that either the Attorney General's office or EOHLC had responded in some way to the question that perhaps the auditor put to it about, hey, where's this fiscal impact statement? But it didn't go into detail as to what the response was. So it may have been the lawsuit that KP Law wrote. So
I'll follow up with that for you.
what's that?
I'll follow up with that
Yeah,
for
that'd
you.
be
I
great.
guess,
It'd be good to sort of know whether, I mean, we're asking this question very candidly and in good faith, and it may be that the answer is out there as far as when the agency plans to put it out, but as of now, we don't have the answer. So that's what the letter's trying to get at, and maybe we'll learn
Okay.
shortly from KP Law or others about that. But
So do we have a motion?
Move to sign a letter to Edward M. Augustus Jr., Massachusetts Secretary of Housing and Livable Communities, formally requesting a status update on the economic impact report related to General Law, Chapter 40, Section 3A, expected to be completed by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes?
Ben, yes?
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
Unanimous? Okay, so let's move to G. Review of proposed amendments to the town zoning bylaw and zoning map relative to compliance with GL blah, 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 3A as submitted to the select board and approved by the planning board on 3/13/2025.
That's what we already voted to refer back to them and under H, so I guess we sort of took care of G. when
Yeah,
we
G
did
was
H.
just
Okay.
if the board had wanted to review any of the details, then H was the vote.
All right, so we're done, right, on those 3 points? G, H, and I are done. So do you want to have some more fun?
Can I just thank the planning board members who are here and to the rest of your board for the work that you did on this and for the sunset language, which seems, addresses kind of a important issue that's out there. So thanks for your work on that.
And you'll note, I didn't rat you out to that first gentleman. You can turn around and talk right to her. All right, so we're going to start at the top. We'll have some fun with this. A discussion and potential vote to amend the snow removal policy. Discussion?
I mean, I can introduce how we're here, unless Gary, you
No,
want.
go ahead.
Basically, we've gotten, a lot of snow, well, more snow this year than we've had in the prior couple of winters. We had, some folks reaching out, probably more than, I'm not sure if it's a normal amount because, my relatively short tenure here, we haven't had much snow at all until this year. And even for New England, it really wasn't a ton of snow. But we did hear from a number of people that they were, concerned about specifically the sidewalk plowing operations of the DPW and the time frame in which it takes to get to their respective neighborhoods. We did some digging, we called Bill Tyak, just to see what has changed. And, his view was we're still doing it the way he did it. He always said that unless there was 4 inches or more on the ground, he wouldn't send a piece of machine up to do the sidewalks. So Rich goes out with every snowstorm, and he works systematically from, essentially the ADA walking route around Bucher, and then works, especially from the center out, unless a call places his guys with the appropriate machine in certain parts of town. He then will have them, work their way back, but clear the sidewalks as they go. So it gives him some discretion on being able to how to prioritize the snow removal. Generally, to do the entire town, it takes about 4 days, sometimes 5 days, to remove all the snow on all the sidewalks in town. So this is here because some board members have requested to bring it back and review it. And, from a town staff perspective, I'd be asking the board to, take a look at it and either reaffirm it, have discussions of amendment, but something that we can rely on, in town hall to be like, no, this is the policy and this is how it's done.
So I was the one to bring this to Steve's attention, and specifically the areas of concern are initially around Bucher and the walkability and the safety for children to be able to walk to and from school. However, the one thing that this policy is lacking is essentially a map and an ordinance of exactly where the street, or at what times the streets are going to be done. Personally, I live up on 97, and it took them 16 days to do the sidewalks. We had children walking on 97, getting on and off the school bus. The snowplow that does the sidewalks turned around at Daniels Road and did not come up 97 until we called the chief of police to say, you have children walking on 97, getting on and off the bus. It's not Salter's problem, it is a safety issue. It was at that point that the DPW came and did it, but it was 16 days of 8 inches of snow that was not done. So as far as the taking a look at, from a safety perspective, I reached out to the superintendent, and we found out that we have 180, essentially 180 bus stops. I'd like to have the town take a look at exactly where those are in conjunction to Bucher and the safety of getting the kids on and off the bus safely and into their homes and then back into school. To me, it's quite unacceptable that we have kids standing on the side of the road with unplowed areas. I do understand that we have limited funds to purchase additional equipment or to have additional people. But one of the first concerns that we should have is our kids. And so the one thing that this doesn't have, as far as the policy goes, is an understanding of exactly what streets are going to be done, the order that it is going to be accomplished. And I think that would help.
I mean, part of that is by design because, right, so it gives the DPW director the ability to make the judgment call as to where he needs to direct his men and equipment. And, it's not the only, it's not the only priority. Snow removal on the sidewalks is not the only thing that the DPW has going on. So it's very difficult to say on day one, we're going to do this. On day two, we're going to do this. Amounts of snow change. It could be, similar to this, you have a snowstorm. 5 days later, you have another snowstorm. So you never get to the outskirts because you're back doing the same spot you did, and similarly, if, the priority number one is the roadway and safe travel for vehicles, and, that can sometimes linger for a couple of days as they go around and touch up and field complaints on that, so that takes manpower away. I guess I'll say it's very difficult to not give the DPW director the ability to direct his capacity to different parts of town and solve other problems like, frozen drainage, flooding, street potholes that become exposed through freezing and thaw cycles during a snowstorm, plow damage, things like that. So, you only have a couple DPW guys, so he needs to be able to adjust on the fly because snow removal is unpredictable. You go out there and there's a lot of things look very different with 6 inches of snow on the ground. And, it's not as easy as, it might seem. And then you're going around moving piles and things like that to clean up, to make sure the cars can pass safely and public safety can access all the neighborhoods.
I fully understand that, but kids walking on 97 is not acceptable.
I have a question about the two-page policy. So this is the existing policy, is that right?
Yes, as far as we can tell.
Right. So on the second page, paragraph 3, it says priorities and schedule for which streets will be plowed. And then the second full sentence, beginning at the end of line 2, says the level of service is dependent on the roadway's classification. Then the next sentence, recommended levels of service are shown in capital P phases, C attached. Is that this, what we have doesn't have that attachment, but I don't know whether there exists some attachment that.
Yeah, it
It's
does.
in more detail.
I meant it if it's not there. It basically, I mean, I can give it to you. It highlights different stages of emergency. For like, if it's a state of emergency, then the select board has the authority to declare emergency, to send the plow trucks out ahead of time or keep them out longer. I can share it.
Okay.
Share it with you. It's not what. I'll just share it with you. It's not what it sounds like here. When I saw it, I was
Okay.
like, that's it.
Right, and so it sounds like it's not as detailed as what Karen might be,
No, like doesn't list
Addressing
like
in terms
street
of-
names and
Yeah.
like you go here first and you
or
do
even
that.
like focus on areas that have a heavier bus route.
Yeah, I mean, generally the areas they focus on, and I'm not sure if it's written down, but the areas that they do first, like as soon as they get to the stage of doing sidewalks, is around the Bucher School.
Right.
So like, I guess the promise can't be is, within how many hours they're gonna take to get there. I don't know. And,
Yeah, but
generally
90% of the kids don't live near Bucher School. They're bused.
Well, I'm not, I'm just saying that's how it exists now. That's, at some point in time, that was a decision that was made to prioritize the ADA walking route around the Bucher School.
So beyond that,
Yeah.
okay, I think we all understand that and agree with it. Do we have a map where all the bus stops are?
No.
We do. Eric has it.
Who?
Eric has it. We have a list of exactly the bus stops and the orders.
So then the question, if you looked at that, right? So we probably have a couple of crossings on 97.
Yes.
We do. We have
We
it,
have it all the way from
Cedar.
the rail trail all the way to Beverly.
So perhaps as hopefully the snow season over, it sounds to me like perhaps there's a missing connection in that the superintendent's school bus stop map versus what the DPW has the capacity for, or the planning for, needs to be looked at over the summer here. So perhaps if there's areas that cause the students to cross or move along major highways like 97, then maybe either we need to change the bus stop positioning or change the emphasis as far as snow plowing. But it sounds to me that needs to be a dialogue between DPW capabilities and the superintendent's plan for bus stop locations.
It's not just Hamilton Wenham as well. We have Essex County Tech
Hmm.
that gets off right in front of, specifically
Well,
right in
yes,
front of our
yes.
house at Puritan, which was not plowed, and the kids have to walk all the way down to Conrad, which again is not plowed, so they were walking in opposite direction down 97.
But you're talking about sidewalks, not streets, correct?
They're walking in the street because the sidewalks aren't done.
Right, but I guess I'm a little confused because when in any of the cities that I'm aware of and have lived in before, it was the homeowner's responsibility to make sure that the sidewalks were passable. And in fact, we used to get tickets if we didn't get out there soon enough. So I guess I'm concerned as to how this is entirely the responsibility of the town. I mean, I think that in Massachusetts, there's a responsibility on us as homeowners also.
Because it doesn't say that in any bylaw here. It says that the DPW will be taking care of that.
In the
But-
bylaw?
Well, the DP says the DPW will take care of as capacity allows.
There's
Like-
nothing in here that requires the homeowners at all to take any responsibility for cleaning up their area.
And I think,
Outside of the hydrants, I believe that that is the one emphasis that they do have to take care of.
but I think we need to look at the history of Wenham too, because most of what we're defining as sidewalks were never built as sidewalks. You know, it was, if you look through the notes, it's the Cherry Street walkway. You know, they were installed as people's pathways to different locations in town. So again, I would say that, you know, the danger comes in the fact that the drop-off or pickup points are not, you know, perhaps we need to move those off the main streets, one.
That's, some of the places, like in particular 97, there is no sidewalk.
Well,
So you-
yes,
so
well,
you
then,
could-
then perhaps the school needs to look at a address-by-address drop-off points
Yeah.
in bad weather, so. So I'm just saying, I don't think we're gonna get to any amendment or change tonight, that perhaps we need to just take this as a task over the summer to,
So how do we facilitate this discussion between Eric's team and DPW?
I guess, what's the end, is the request ultimately that you want all the 180 or 200 bus stops to be prioritized first? Is that ultimately?
I doubt it.
That's
I
not
don't think it should.
realistic.
Well, because my concern, because I guess I can approach Eric, I'm fine, but I think would want to approach him with, you know, what's our solution? Like, I'm not sure. You know, we have one snow removal machine to go out and checkerboard the town, 180 spots, 200 spots, whatever the email said. You know, it's just gonna delay their ability to get to, you know, the rest of the town as well. It just,
So
I'm not,
there was
I guess
a-
I'm looking for what is the ultimate, you know, what are we working towards?
There's 180 high school and 202 elementary school. That does not mean that there's there's not 400. Those definitely
Right.
overlap.
Right.
I think the first approach would be to take a look at the exact routes from the Salter perspective and take a look at how they can potentially be consolidated with the DPW as far as streets that are more active than others. You know, there are side streets that have multiple stops that aren't as much of a concern as 97, 1A, Cherry Street, which are the big ones. But if that can be consolidated and taken a look at by both the Salter transportation lists as well as the DPW, I think that's a good start. It's not 200, but you can narrow it down to a good 50.
All right, so you're asking the DPW to review with Salter.
And I'd be more than happy to, along with one of you guys, participate in that discussion, just so I can convey what we're kind of thinking about. And, you know, better definition of what the problem is.
Okay. Yeah, I can reach out to Eric, coordinate something.
I mean, this isn't a decision that we should make tonight, but just as a thought, should we consider asking the DPW, or if we're the ultimate authors of this policy, to change the sidewalk provision to just say right up front something like, individual property owners should be responsible for clearing the sidewalks fronting their properties, and then the next sentence would become, the highway department will provide secondary maintenance on, of sidewalks as required, or something like that. That would sort of reset the expectations, I think. And you make the good point that right now it says the highway department will maintain the sidewalks in the town. It's a pretty broad period, just kind of a broad statement, which isn't probably realistic or correct, and maybe not advisable from like a policy point of view. But it's probably a big question that, you know, we don't necessarily want to vote on tonight. But my experience too, I haven't lived in that many separate places, but you know, typically it would be the private property owners who are required to clear the sidewalks in front of their houses or businesses.
Yeah, I think the advantage to having DPW do this at all is that they come through, widen it, get it down better, clean it up. You know, it's certainly much improved after DPW comes through, but I think complete reliance on them for the entire town is just not feasible. I think identifying where the problematic and dangerous
Right.
crossings are is the game, right?
Yeah, I think that's.
And I mean, you know, my concerns, just, you know, I don't want, my reluctance is just that, you know, I will coordinate the conversation with Eric and we can talk through with Salter, but the snow removal, just based on my conversations with Rich and other DPW directors, is, you know, snow is it's a very busy time, it's a stressful time. They're up for, you know, many days at a time. And, you know, adding an element of complexity, you know, I just get concerned with, you know, you're over-promising, setting the, you know, the process up for failure. If, you know, their expectations become they're there within 24 hours and something happens and, you know, it's already an unpredictable time where, you know, you're up many hours. And I don't want to over-promise, I guess, is my concern.
Then he needs to be able
think we
to,
will.
yeah, then he needs to be able to work with Eric and Salter and have identified areas that the kids shouldn't be walking on 97 or 1A and adjust it accordingly, depending on.
Adjust the bus stops or adjust
I
the
mean,
snow
yeah,
removal?
if DPW can't do it, you can't have kids walking on a highway. So if it's something that you're not gonna be able to adopt where the sidewalks are taken care of by the individual homeowners, and the DPW isn't gonna get there for 4 or 5 days, Eric's responsibility is to get those kids safely on and off that bus.
I think it's a combination of both. Okay? So let's just start the conversation. We're not gonna
Okay.
overpromise. And we'll just see what common sense dictates.
Sounds good.
Okay? And so I do want to be part of that conversation.
Yep, definitely.
All right, so B, discuss and potential vote to adopt proposed surveillance camera policy at the Hamilton Wenham Library as recommended by the Hamilton Wenham Library trustees. You guys read this? I thought that was pretty interesting, striking all that information
Yes, the background of that.
for performance reviews.
Yeah, the background to that is we purchased with ARPA fund, a combination of ARPA funds from Wenham, capital funds from Hamilton, surveillance cameras at the library. We installed them. We sent a notification to the union that we were going to essentially implement them and sent them the policy. They responded with a cease and desist letter requiring us to bargain. So, you know, our attorney did not feel we had the obligation to bargain, but, you know, being a good partner, we sat down at the table with them and ultimately arrived at the amendment that you see redlined and replaced with the underlined text. You know, with that, if the select board is amendable to that, the library board of trustees had voted to accept the amendment, and so that's ultimately it's a policy decision. The select board oversees the Hamilton Wenham Library. It's a shared resource, but we're the lead community in it, so you have the authority on, you know, what policies are implemented. So it's before you for your consideration, and if you are favorable, the motion should also include permitting me to sign the MOU, also outlining this change with the union.
I'm fine with it. Anyone have any adjustments or
Michelle, can you
objections?
put it up on the screen?
That's the only change right there.
The only question I had is it didn't include the counter. I know that we're not looking to put in cameras at all anywhere near the children's section, but we had originally discussed putting a travel counter to find out how many people are going in and out of the room. Doesn't have to be a camera, but it was more of a foot counter, and that's not included in here, but they said that it would be included in the camera security system.
I don't remember that. I remember the conversation about the counter, and it was more
Yeah,
of a,
But it was all
like
part
a
of.
general
It was all gonna be
request,
part
could
of
we
that
install?
policy. Yeah, and
I don't
that way we
remember.
could get a better idea as to the activity going in and out of the children's room, so we could help with the funding perspective of grants and being able to potentially bring some more funding into that room for children's programs. But if we didn't know the number, then we
Yeah.
couldn't do that.
Right. I remember the counter discussion, it was during the budget hearing, when the library, I don't remember, I apologize, but I don't remember that being tied to the camera policy. If we did, I can go back and review the recording.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was,
Okay.
and I don't see it here,
Hmm.
so that's where my question is.
So is the counter have a different technology that we can employ rather than the camera?
At least my recollection was that it was more like, could we put a counter in to help, I guess rationalize or justify additional funding to show I don't remember it. Again, I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but I don't remember it being like, we are putting it in. It's more like, I think the question for you to Kim was, could we put it in? And she was like, yeah, we probably could, but we don't currently have one.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was all gonna be roped into the same policy.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back and watch the tape, make sure that wasn't missed.
So that's, I don't see anything in here that would restrict the use of the camera for that usage right now.
Like, this is just security
Right.
cameras, so like a counter would be something totally different.
Right.
That's like a body counter when you walk in the front door. So that wouldn't be done with a camera. It may have been discussed in the same, but this is literally just to limit security cameras from being used to monitor employees' performance unless
if we move
unless we have
forward-
just cause.
If we move forward with adding a counter, do we have to then update the policy?
I don't believe so. I don't believe the counters are cameras in any way, but again, I'm not familiar with the technology.
Thank you.
Motion?
Yep.
Move to adopt the proposed surveillance camera policy at the Hamilton Wenham Library as recommended by the Hamilton Wenham Library trustees, and to authorize the town administrator to assign the accompanying MOU.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Sharon, yes.
Gary, yes.
Because we're going to take this out likely. 24.
C, determination of the order of all items in the 2025 annual town meeting warrant. This discussion may also include the potential addition or removal of warrant articles.
I think there's one placeholder warrant article for Spring Hill that is likely to come up.
Yes, yeah, Andrew Goodman, I don't know, we weren't sure where the discussion was going to go today, but I did get an email from Andrew speaking on behalf of the association, and they're withdrawing their request for the April town meeting. However, expect to come back with a request for the special town meeting. So I did indicate to him that there may be some discussion around that, and if there was any, questions on the status, that he could help address those. But I didn't know where the conversation was gonna go. So with that, I'd suggest that the board, if it wishes to remove Article 23, which was the, quote-unquote placeholder.
We need a motion for that?
I think I think we can make some general, yeah, why don't we'll get the motions out of the way. It's probably the best way, and we don't get sidetracked and forget to do it.
So we need the motion to open the warrant first, right?
Yep.
So I move to open the 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
Second?
Ready to vote? Peter says yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes. Then you want the,
It's number 23.
Yep, you can vote, motion to remove Article 23, public street acceptance for ways within Spring Hill subdivision.
do you have that written, or, all right,
So moved.
so moved?
So moved. Actually, was a second.
Second.
Discussion, ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right, and so we'll do the update in the email that I sent with the police firearms. We were able to work through a solution that could be funded through already appropriated funds in their training budget. So we believe that to be the way to go for this year and not amend the capital, because it is so integrally tied into the Finance Committee's report and different warrant articles in the town meeting warrant. Our concern is that if it went out, we've already sent the warrant, right? It's asterisked that, it may change at tonight's meeting, because tonight was the last time the select board. So, but I just, I hesitate to make a lot of changes unless they're completely necessary, because a lot of folks are going to be relying on that document, and to the extent it would change their view on a particular warrant article, to find out at town meeting probably wouldn't be the best way to
So
do it.
let's leave the budget as is.
So we're gonna leave the capital budget as is. The one for that, the one change that we will be requesting, because we really don't have an option, and I think it's not material enough to warrant changes throughout the other reporting, is the Bob Moffett Pro Performance sent us the bill that had slipped through the cracks last year on his desk, and that's for $2,375. That's for last year's town meeting. The only way we can pay that is to move it into the late bill. So, he needs to get paid. Our only mechanism to
And
pay it.
that, can we not do that on motion on the floor at town meeting to add that one item? Or
We can,
what's the easiest way?
well, we can, but Lauren recommended us include it in the final.
Right.
So I think that ultimately it's a judgment call on the select board. If you feel differently, our thinking, I think Jeff, when we talked earlier, that it's not material enough that would warrant changing, the 1% reservation of unappropriated free cash funds for the stabilization contribution, and also the references and percentages made in the FinCom report. It's $2,300. So we just make that one change, update the chart. We'll do that first thing in the morning, and then it'll send it off to the constable and get posted, tomorrow or Thursday, and that will be the only change, along with the removal of Article 23. And then part of that is the select board will have to revote the recommendation on that article. That is the one change. And then the FinCom will have to make their recommendation at town meeting, because their recommendation didn't include the pro performance invoice. And additionally, while the warrant is open, I guess you could do it while it's closed, but while it's open, might as well take care of it, as the select board still needs to vote their recommendation on the ADU Article 20. So I guess first, a motion to include it, if that's what you want to do.
So the 2,300 is what article number?
It's Article 8.
Right. So I move to include the Moffett bill in the amount of $2,300,
$23.75.
$2,375 to current Article 8.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
And would you like to, go ahead, Ben?
Sure. I'll make a motion that the select board vote to recommend passage of Article 20, zoning article, accessory dwelling units.
Second?
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes?
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
Is that it?
Does that clean everything up, Steve?
Yeah, and then another recommendation on Article 8, the late bills,
Prior year
Right.
bills, yeah.
because it changed.
All right, so move for the select board to recommend positive action on Article 8, late bills.
Second,
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes?
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right. Is that it?
Then, that's it?
That's all I have.
Then I move to close the 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes?
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
Joe, are we gonna need to re-sign that?
Yes, we're gonna print a new copy. Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, sure.
From the letter, too.
Yes, yep. Tell her.
You're gonna tell us what the difference is,
It's just
So
the removal
Jay,
of, Spring Hill.
We're done with Jay. We just did it, right?
But Jay is special town meeting, right?
Yeah, so Jay is, if you want to bring that summary up. Can you bring the summary up?
Just trustee that, who's wondering?
This article, this agenda item is really just to serve as a general discussion now that we're kind of moving past, we're starting to move past our annual town meeting, and it's this sheet we put together is just a summary of what was on the warrant article. There was one thing that we did want to talk about that I believe was on there that got skipped. C, we didn't do C. Remember Peter asked to read us to bring back the discussion of the order of all articles.
Who asked?
Last meeting, you wanted to reopen the ordering of the articles. Is
Aren't
that
we happy
something-
with the, or,
Yeah,
you're talking about my idea of moving the
yeah, so
budget down?
we said we'd bring that, and we said we'd, just have a discussion.
After the first two items, one is the
Mass exodus.
elementary school, and then the school budget, and then everybody's gonna leave. So I thought, well, why don't you just slide the school budget way down?
That's
We
a
just-
genius idea.
This is about
That's what I said.
the ATM?
Yes,
Yes.
We just closed the warrant, though.
Yeah.
Well, we can open it again.
if we skipped that agenda item, then the thought
All right.
stuck in my head halfway
So
through my.
do we want further action here?
Do you guys agree with that? I mean, frankly, Karen says I'm a genius, but
Well, I only say you're a genius because it's exactly what I said the last meeting, that we should move the school thing down. So if getting my idea to move forward is by calling you a genius, I'm all for it, Peter.
okay, so.
All right, move to open the 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
I just,
Second. Ready to vote? Yes. Flag.
Okay, sure.
Ben, yes?
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
So.
We're gonna have a mass exodus.
We just suggested you move it down like 3/4 of the way.
yeah, and yeah, just I'll do, strategically, just, I don't want to say where the board lies, but, sometimes folks who may come, if they know it's first, won't come if it's later. Just something to think about.
But we've got
I
two
mean-
items.
They can't predict, they won't be able to predict the time. It becomes harder for,
Right.
Yeah, I'm not saying, I just want to throw that out there. Something to think about, but we will put it.
The conversations I'm having is,
Do we have a motion?
yeah, people are
Wait,
really
wait,
excited
wait.
about the school.
Yeah, no, and I'll defer to your pulse on the community, but I just wanted to throw that out, as something to consider, because it is something that's talked about when you're planning town meetings.
So what is the last of the money articles number right now?
And as you're looking that up, if we lose a quorum after that, is there anything essential that will be following the school vote that absolutely is necessary in order to accomplish during that meeting? In the essence that somebody calls us, Diane, So if somebody calls a lack of quorum at that point, how off will we be? And are those articles able to move into June?
Yeah, I mean, so when you know, if you include the CPA articles as money article, it would start, the CPA article is 18, and that would be the last. The next one after that is the community aggregation of electric load, and then we get into the zoning articles, and then that, you know, is effectively about the end of the meeting. So if we were to lose quorum and somebody calls it, you can continue the meeting without a quorum as long as nobody calls for a quorum count. Then we would have to either reschedule the meeting to finish the business, or, you know, go knocking on doors and trying to get a quorum back so we can continue that night, depending on what time it was.
But we also have a meeting in June.
That's correct.
So if we lose quorum, we could say the following articles will be moved to our June 9th meeting.
I don't know the legalities of that. I know we can't. I know we couldn't say that at the meeting, but
Didn't Roger say it has to be within,
Yeah.
does it have to be within 10 days, I thought?
No, yeah.
Roger said.
You need to complete the warrant at
You
some
have to.
point before moving on to another meeting.
Okay. If that's the case, then yeah, Roger said.
Said within 10 days, I thought Roger said he has to
Oh.
reschedule. If there's a-
So what you're really saying is you want to put the budget article at the end.
What are we talking about, budget
The
article?
school,
The
you look at
school
the school-
consolidation vote?
Yeah, the school, the debt exclusion for the school. I'm assuming that's what we're talking about.
The consolidation.
Right.
So the very first article, as it currently stands, where do we want that, or where do you want that?
I would keep it where it is.
Just a couple things. It's Diane Bucco, your town clerk. Because we come right after Hamilton, you know, you want to make sure that the school administration can be there. Their number, I think they're 5th or 12th, I can't remember. So that you want to make sure that Eric Tracy and his crew can be here. So having it first sometimes would cut it close. One thing to think about. The other thing to think about, as far as if you lose quorum or we don't get through anything, that won't happen, is maybe have a second date already planned, so that you can still get it done under your annual town meeting and not push it back into the special when you already think it's going to be a busy meeting. Those were just my 2 little points I wanted to perhaps help, or not.
Thank you.
Because we did run into this problem a few years ago, and we resorted to the call your neighbor plan. Everyone get the cell phones out and get the quorum back.
It's just a low battery. We have
I don't remember, I think I've been to most town meetings in Wenham since I've lived here. And I don't remember a situation like this where the first article has been kind of a special big ticket article. My experience, and you would, others here would contest it, but the budget, the annual budget articles, I think, are always first. So to me, it did strike me as a little unusual to have this one as number 1. But I also am not too worried about, there's going to be a drop-off, there always is, and so I'm not terribly worried about losing a quorum for the rest and having to push them to either a special or a continued annual, but so I wouldn't support pushing the school one, to the end or even near the end. I might put it as like 3 or 4 or something like that, so that we don't get into the problem that you were addressing, Steve, of like people saying, oh geez, I don't know when that's gonna be, and then they get busy with other things. They would, the people who, for better or for worse, are gonna show up only to vote on the school thing. If it's like 3 or 4, then presumably they'll get there when it starts, more or less. And then, so I mean, I'd support moving it down in a logical place.
Do we have the list available?
Pull up that summary.
Well, Article 2 of the current list of
Yeah.
Article 2
Should it be part of?
is disbursement
warrant
cleanup of
J.
scholarship and education funds, which is also kind of a,
That would be agenda item J.
Education based.
yeah. Article 4 is annual operating budget appropriation. That's the.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, 3 is the hero.
Just move it down after payoff outstanding short-term debt. You guys all right with that? You don't think it matters?
I don't, but
Who doesn't want to move it down to 8?
I'd rather move it to 5 myself. Then it would become 4, so it would be 1, 2, and 3 would be disbursement, accept general laws, 3, annual operating budget, and then 4 would be the Cutler School.
So put it after, we'll do the operating budget, then go on to the big question.
I think so. I mean, I think, to me, that makes sense.
Got a motion?
sure.
I'll move that the order of warrant articles be changed to make what's currently listed as Article 1, a new Cutler Elementary School at 237 Asbury Street, Hamilton, Mass., to become the new Article 4, to follow annual operating budget appropriation, town and schools, which will become the new Article 3.
Who are you removing?
It's just one is just moving down 4
Oh,
places.
right,
So
sorry.
one's moving from the cleanup spot to
Do the second?
Second,
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right, then we have,
Just for my own clarity, it's going after the capital article.
So 2, 3, 4, 1,
No,
5.
after the
After the-
operating, yeah, so one, it's moving from the cleanup spot to the 4 spot. It's going from 1 to 4.
2, 3, 4 move up a slot.
Just before, if we don't change,
2, 3,
sorry.
He's
4
not a
moves it-
baseball fan.
Yeah, 2, 3, 4 moves.
2, 3,
what's the
4, 1,
cleanup?
5, 6, 7.
All right,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, 1, 5.
I'm sorry, the lead
Talking about
off.
tennis.
Lead off.
Lead off, yeah.
2 becomes 1, 3 becomes 2, 4
Too many
becomes 3.
sports references.
Badminton.
I got it, Ben, I got it.
Did I say cleanup?
Ready to vote?
So anything else, Steve?
Cleanup.
What's that?
Anything else?
No, that's
All
good,
right.
sorry.
Move
A
to
little slow.
close the move to close the 2025 annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
All right. We're not, we've done all business items for blah, blah, blah. These items will allow for public comment, 10 minutes. Purpose is commentary to allow for public comment on individual and will be held before or after the board's discussion of the agenda item at the discretion of the chair. Rules, 2 minutes per person. Person may speak only once. 10 minutes total per item unless noted on the agenda. Got anybody out there?
Yeah, hold on. We
You get to close the
we
warrant.
didn't close the warrant, and also, we didn't do J yet, right?
We just did.
No, J is
No,
the
J
special
is
town meeting.
special town meeting.
Oh, special town meeting, sorry.
Emma's laughing.
Didn't you just vote to close the warrant?
Yeah, we closed the warrant, but now we got to look at this special town meeting.
I thought we voted to change the order. All right, I'm
I think we
confused.
did both, yeah.
Yes.
We voted to
I'm-
change the order, right?
But then.
Yeah, so
That's
what,
right, and then,
yeah, what happened is we skipped,
The Three Stooges.
we skipped C, right, unintentionally. And then I realized that when I was discussing J. So we jumped off J to go back to
Right.
C, which is what we just did. Now
Correct.
we're back on J. So that summary sheet is to show what was included in the town meeting and their order, the annual town meeting, what was requested and not included in the annual town meeting to help formulate a discussion or facilitate a discussion about what the select board wants to have on the special town meeting warrant, because we're gonna probably open that next in April, second meeting in April. So it gives a couple, do you want to just have 3A? Do you want to explore other articles?
Or that, I think if we're not having the discussion until April,
Yep.
let's see how many things fall out, and then we can add them when we talk about it in April.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. If everybody's all right. Okay, discussion and potential vote to approve amended Genstar property management agreement as per requested by the Affordable Housing Trust.
All right, so the amendment we're looking to make is the contractor, the original terms required commercial general liability insurance and employer's liability insurance at $1 million per occurrence with $3 million in aggregate on both of them. To get the $3 million in aggregate, it was very costly to them. It was about $2,500 to $3,000 to increase that on a $4,000 contract. So we went back and we looked at, you know, a number of contracts, and we have a mixed bag of $3 and $1 million aggregates. So, you know, part of that highlights probably our need to standardize our insurance requirements, where, you know, both Maya and KP Law, when we ask them, is, you know, directs us to that they'll, you know, certify the validity of their certificates of insurance, but what the select board requires is a policy decision. So where it doesn't fall outside of the realm of contracts that we've accepted somewhat recently, we're asking the select board to consider amending the contract to allow the Affordable Housing Trust, which is fine with the $1 million aggregate, to amend your permission to allow for the $1 million aggregate opposed to the $3 million aggregate.
You support this, Gary?
Well, I think it's the full policy, but in this particular case, what we're saying is, you know, why push on the developer an excessive insurance on a relatively small budget item, right? Because it's, what, 3,000 extra charge on a, how big's the contract for? Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's just out of proportion in this case, so I would say let's go with a lower limit.
You want to make a motion?
Sure, I move to approve the amended Genstar property management agreements as requested by the Affordable Housing Trust.
Second.
Ready to vote? Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes. Before we finish, do we have firm dates coming up? We have one more select board meeting before town meeting, but we also have times for the warrant hearing yet?
yeah, it's, I believe we've done the warrant hearing at 6 in the past. Is that my memory right on that?
I think so, yes, early start.
Is that still okay with the board?
What date?
That
is
would be Monday, March 21st. 31st, sorry.
What do you want?
It's every year the FinCom hosts a warrant hearing. Not sure why they host it, but that's traditionally who hosts it. And the select board and the FinCom will meet jointly and walk through the warrant article by article. It's essentially it's a platform for
What time?
the 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
For the platform for the public to tune in, participate in the discussion, get any clarification questions answered.
So my only comment to you,
Yeah.
it's the last Monday of the month. Typically, we have the new elementary school building committee meeting at 6:30.
Yeah, we might not be able to go because
Okay.
it's always on the it's always on the last Monday before town meeting.
So I'm good.
6 o'clock?
Mm-hmm.
And how long is it?
It
Depends on the
can,
questioning.
with 25 articles, because you'll have to read through each of the articles in full traditionally, and then have discussion or more of an educational process on each one for the public. So I would say 2+ hours typically.
This is Monday, the 31st.
Yes.
And then we have our regular meeting
On
The next,
Tuesday?
on the next day, the 1st.
That works. Do we have anything on the 3rd and 4th?
Of April,
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm aware of.
We just go to Bucher, for planning purposes, but that's just staff.
That's fine,
Yeah.
thank you.
And are we doing our noon meeting? The day of town meeting?
Yeah, so we'll have, that's a good point. We usually set a select board meeting kind of as like a catch-all for the noontime or 12:30 before the meeting starts. We may have business to discuss, we may not, but just if anything comes up between now and then, we kind of have the ability to have a meeting and make any final votes. Questions sometimes come up, particularly around the CPC, that require select board vote, and at the last minute. So-
Usually council's there too, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, Lauren's usually there, and FinCom usually.
And it's good to, council is
And
there,
Jeff.
so it can answer
Jeff
any
will be
last minute
there.
questions you have. No, Jeff's not coming.
So 6 o'clock on Monday, 6 Thursday, Tuesday, noon on Saturday.
And then, if you want to look, what do you think about, do you want to set some dates in April? I know that's school vacation week, and I think
The
it aligns
15th
with
is
our
school vacation,
The 22nd
22nd.
so if we're doing the 1st,
to the 15th.
can't we just do the 15th
Yeah.
on the normal schedule?
Okay, that's fine with everybody. That's why I just want to get clear.
Oh, yeah, so it'd have to move to Wednesday, the
There was something.
16th then?
Sounds good.
Does that work?
It works for me.
Okay.
16th then?
And then, do we have one on the 29th as well?
No,
No.
No. So the next one would be the 6th of May?
yep, well, the 16th will be the public hearing. This is just dawned on me, that's
Of April.
of April.
Yeah, so that doesn't work then.
Could do Thursday.
I cannot.
Monday?
Monday.
Dan, I thought I saw something somewhere about the special state rep election being at the museum. Is that wrong, or it'll be here in this room? Okay.
Monday, the 14th works okay? No?
For what?
Yeah, the room's set.
Move it to remote.
That would be great.
That's a great idea.
That's a wonderful idea.
Sold.
In that, I mean, in that same theme about remote meetings, I don't know if this is the right time, but I just want to put it on your radar, is I may ask the board or have you consider going to a remote schedule for a couple of months while the HVAC is installed, because we're just starting to have, the select board had asked me to put together a written implementation plan. So we're at the point now that we know we have all the funding, so ESG was a little hesitant to start with the contractor till we knew we had secured all the funding. So now we're digging into that, and, one of the ideas I proposed is if they can get in this room, do their demo, and get out first, and then we can move, just basically like this, everyone can just have computers set up. I talked to Micro Support, they can bring in like a secondary switching station so we can have our network and all our computers in here, and then they can, do the rest of the building. It would just limit us having to, move over there, move up here, move over there. So if that is an option, I think it might work well, but it would require us, utilizing the select board room for probably a period of a few months.
Summer months?
Yeah, well, late spring into summer, yeah.
That would help Ben, who prefers Zoom in the summertime.
I did last summer.
You did last summer.
Well, if it works out,
That'd be good.
I won't complain. but-
There were some security breaches recently on our Zoom call.
Yeah, we heard about that.
It was in my living room, it was great.
Oh, nice, nice.
Like Zoom bombers, like doing
Oh, we had
obscene kinds of things?
Yes, it was colorful.
When was that?
Tuesday evening, Wednesday evening?
Yeah, so that was
Thursday
the climate action, right?
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah, so we're getting them up to speed on how to utilize
Webinar.
the webinar format like we use here. That will prevent that.
So that's my concern. I would hate to have that exact
Yeah, we have the webinar.
happen in the middle of our select board.
Yeah, that's why we went to the webinar. It's a little bit more cumbersome to manage, so a lot of the boards and committees don't like to use it, but, once that only has to happen once, and then folks don't mind doing it.
It's definitely more secure, though.
Yeah.
So 4:14, can we change it back to 4:15 if we're doing remote? Does that matter?
I don't,
No.
Diane, can you meet I don't think you can meet on election day.
Okay, so 4:14 at 6:30?
No.
Oh, 4:14.
So 4:14 at 6:30,
Yep.
and then,
Wait, oh, all right, confused.
30 Zoom.
and then that's it for the month of April?
That is it.
Okay. And then we're talking May 6th?
Yeah, is it the first Tuesday? Yeah.
Yep. So then May 20th, which is fine, but then you want the warrant hearing to be on June 2nd, because that's the Monday before the,
Yep.
okay.
And then just
Okay.
we may need a little bit of flexibility with the select board meetings in late, as we get into late April, because we're not 100% sure. We want to be able to get the warrant out in the mail in time, and, you may have to open the warrant in that week, like the last week of April, first week of May, to add whatever you're gonna add and close it, so we can finalize the warrant, get it mailed out. So it might need a little bit of flexibility. We can do it on Zoom, but that's kind of TBD right now.
Okay.
Hello, anybody want to?
Okay, move to adjourn, 8:12 PM.
Second?
Second. Discussion. Peter votes yes.
Deirdre, yes.
Ben, yes.
Karen, yes.
Gary, yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.